I just don't have the confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand when fighting like that happens, especially at their intensity, it can be a little hard for us to rebuild that trust in ourselves and them. I want to get them off muzzle today and see what they're going to be like around each other. I don't anticipate much to go on, but of course we're going to take our precautions and see. So pretty much they have been on muzzle at all times in the crate. Okay. Out of the crate. Have they had any incidences that you have experienced besides yesterday?
No, just not since the last time that we had talked about it.
Okay.
The only thing I ever see is, his hair raised right now.
Sure.
But what I see, it's always when there's a situation that I'm around Brody or he's always has his hair raised specifically around Brody.
Okay. Yeah.
And excitement levels around the girls, no hair raised.
Okay.
It is just around Brody, and it's that eyes on him kind of thing.
Okay.
It just does not seem to go away.
Okay. What I'm seeing that as is just a lot of buildup of arousal, and he has just some right now he is hair raised because there's a lot going on. This is a new exciting environment, but we still want to be able to communicate to him through our corrections if they start to go at each other. So yeah, I think Brody's definitely allowed to respond back and allowed to tell Eddie get off of me, you're in my face, and little arguments between them are going to happen. We're just trying to reduce the intensity of it getting to level 1 to 100. So obviously we spoke about it's just going to be time, and it's going to be supervision anytime that they're on or off muzzle, and making sure the collars are on. I know sometimes it's hard, especially when you have your daughter kind of coming home before you get home from work, but I try our hardest how can we make it easier for ourselves to keep those collars on, maybe putting them on top of the crate. Right when they come out, they both get collars on. If we don't have the collars on all the time, we can't strongly communicate to them. And we need to be able to have that communication this is unacceptable.
But I try not to do over affection anymore with any of them.
Okay.
And if I do, then they're almost by themselves kind of situation.
Yeah. I know that it's kind of disappointing to kind of feel like you have to go back to muzzles all the time in the house. But when we're looking at the future long term, the best way to do this is to kind of try it in really short stints again. And I know it's scary, but you have your resources, which we talked about was your air horn, your pet corrector, absolute worst case scenario, your pepper spray.
I do have.
Worst case scenario, your crop, again, like you said, and just try, get Riley, do 10 minutes of them off muzzle in short stints, no affection, no talking, nothing like that. Stand, kind of walk around if they try to come over to you, and we can begin to rebuild that relationship with them that we had. And I know that when they have a fight, it's scary and you feel like it's regressed. But we're going to go through ups and downs in our training with all of our dogs. Even with my dogs, I still go through periods where I'm not so sure about things, and I'll go through bad sessions, and you're going to have that. And it's just part of kind of managing them and keeping them successful is to keep trying.
Okay.
And I believe you can do it. I know that you have the tools and resources necessary. And the worst comes to worst, they kind of face up. Last time they did that, particularly, I know you said you were correcting multiple times, and it took a while for Eddie to kind of respond to that, which we discussed. Sometimes the e-collar isn't enough of an aversive tool in the sense when they're really hyped up from fighting with each other. So get your crop. I feel like he would be super responsive to that crop correction. We just need to find something that will completely rock his world when he feels it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take the muzzles off, and we're just going to watch them. Seamus is here to help, and just in case. And a couple more tips I could give you to kind of set this up in your house is try to limit the area they're in. So if there's any possibility of having a certain room that you can go to that they're not getting out of eyesight.
Two of them were outside together, just the two of them. on muzzle, and, I mean, they played out in the yard several times. And they wanted to play together, or Eddie wanted to play with him today. I don't know why Brody didn't want to today, but he didn't.
So they're still kind of playing on muzzle at times?
Yes. Okay. They'll lay next to each other. They'll get on the same bed. They'll lay by the front door together. There's all these things that they do together that's crazy to me. That what triggers,
The response that Eddie has?
yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to say exactly what happens to get to that point, but it's just kind of an escalation. And that's why I'd really like to continue working with Eddie and getting him to really listen to the commands that you're applying. Listen outside. I think that's a big one if you really want to focus on his walks. And making sure that he's responsive and respectful of the heel boundary you're creating, respecting where you are. And essentially, just like we did before, starting from the top, leashes on when you're socializing them, short stints, set your timer for even 10 minutes, have your action plan ready so you're feeling confident if something does happen that you can handle it. And sometimes dogs get in arguments and it can be really intense and scary. But if we're there to kind of mitigate the intensity of where they're going to take it, we can better help understand where they're coming from, like what's setting Eddie off.
I think that's my biggest concern. It's not that, because all my 3 other dogs have all argued.
Yeah.
And they've been scary, but we've gotten over it, and then everything's fine. And I'm not as concerned. It's just how I know what they would have done to each other.
Yeah.
And I never felt that way between the other arguments.
Yeah.
They would have killed each other.
Yeah, I get it. And
that's what, how do you know this isn't going to be the one that just...
Sure. Yeah, and some of that will come from just not only doing it more often, but you're being prepared to handle it when it does. So finding a method that stops Eddie in his tracks. Okay. And for me, I believe that the e-collar for him when he's in that heightened state of arousal sometimes isn't the best way to communicate to him. So maybe you utilize your crop to kind of separate and get his attention.
If this is all the body language and posturing that I saw at the house, I wouldn't be concerned.
Yeah.
It is completely.
It's just like you're seeing the stiffness of him when they're kind of like up in each other's faces, being really stiff. And that's is that what's making you nervous, or is that what you usually see that escalates?
I'm nervous right now.
Yeah.
I know this wouldn't be happening, but I don't see, I can tell he's playing.
Yeah.
So, but this isn't like this when I see them two.
Those two.
Or him, eyeing him.
That bringing this higher into the dog because they weren't playing, one off that sees how is we're shooting that line. We're trying to kind of get them up to where they can be playing like this. And then when it gets to that line, how does he handle the pressure from Tyson? Is it the same behavior?
Oh. I totally get, I know exactly what you're talking about though with the stiff energy. Like we said, we could start to say Eddie's name when we're starting to feel like the energy is escalating to an unsafe level, and we can start having him check in with us. So how this would happen is when they're out together, you'd say Eddie's name. If Eddie responds to you, that's great. If he doesn't, you can offer a correction there. You wouldn't say the word no, but having Eddie check in with you so you can interrupt some of this without it being a full-blown correction, because he may not even be doing anything wrong. We just want to know that we can get his attention when we need it. When we're feeling like things are, when we're feeling like our gut is saying that makes me nervous. Again, try not to step in or hover over them. Just try to use his name. Yeah.
If they are on muzzle and they start to get into anything, am I letting them work it out or correcting?
When they're on muzzle, I would completely see where it goes. As long as you are not, the girls aren't out and the girls aren't
Yes.
being involved in it. We want it, like, that's what we did when they first came in, is we kind of just saw where it went. There was no corrections offered and it fizzled out, and they were able to have that conversation and they were able to go back and forth. When they're off muzzle, not that I want to be more worried, I'm just going to watch it closer, and the things that I've accepted with them on muzzle is not going to be the same criteria because of that safety. So I would definitely recommend implementing your check-ins with Eddie. Eddie. And that's just a response I want to see. I want to see that he's coming to me. If he doesn't, you can step in. Not that I want a correction to set him off, but I want to know that he is looking at me. And aside from that, like, I think Eddie is just like you said, a dominant, pushy dog, and we have to find a way that, like, walking him, you feel completely in control, and you feel like he's not pushing back at you, which we can also take a look at when we do our in-home. I'm extremely, like, happy with this session today. I think.
I mean, I am too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel, obviously definitely feel better. I know it's not I go every day going, I don't know if this is ever gonna work.
Yeah, I know that, like, that feeling can creep its way in. But, like, try to think of yourself, like, with more, you got this. Like, I believe that you have this. Just try to feel that confidence when you're letting them socialize. But I can't sit here and say that I don't know how that feels, because it is scary. But we can start to be more involved with them, be more involved in their socialization.